Can you combine a PHP profiler with a coding agent to assist with performance optimizations? Yes, you can, and in this video I will show you how. Performance optimizations is a highly specialized topic, and I understand not every developer should know all the ins and outs of optimizing performance. A profiler provides all the necessary data, but you as a developer still need to analyze, understand, and make the optimizations yourself. It can be quite difficult because every bottleneck is different. I combine Claude Code with two PHP profilers to optimize the JSON Logic library that I looked at in a previous video. The AI agent gives me insights into the bottlenecks and how to fix them. AI-assisted development is everywhere now, and we have been experimenting with it in the Tideways team as well. In this video, I'm going to show you the current state of AI agent and Tideways integration, and also how you can integrate it with PHP SPX. Hi, I am Benjamin, and I am helping PHP developers like you with performance optimizations for over 10 years now. Let's dive into the JSON Logic example. It's a library that allows you to execute JSON Logic rules in PHP. A JSON Logic rule is a condition, a mathematical expression represented in JSON, and then you can put it into this library, apply sort of the calculation for this rule, and you can also pass in context information to have a dynamic calculation. I stumbled over this library while reviewing the performance of a customer's e-commerce shop, and I've optimized it in a video previously with many different patches, and the performance was increased considerably. So today I want to see if an AI agent can also do this performance optimizations, if it can find the performance problems by looking at performance data directly from Tideways. For this, I'm using Claude Code. I've set it up in my Visual Studio, and I've been using a sandbox for this, reading this article, How to Use a Sandbox Claude. So I'm putting it into a Docker container so it doesn't have access to my whole host system. In Tideways, I'm enabling the AI agent support in the beta features section. And then I'm going to my editor and see how we can make this work. So I've set up a very small project that has a complex.php with a very complex JSON Logic rule from this customer that I helped. And they have a shopware shop and are using a plugin that has dynamic price calculation using JSON Logic rules. And this is just one of the very complex rules that they have, very complex data. So this is a dummy I've set up that shows the performance problems. I'm iterating over the data, I'm iterating 10,000 times, setting different values here to have some slightly different calculations, and then I'm applying these rules to get a result and doing this over and over again. So let's look into Claude Code and see what we can do here. I can tell it to look at Tideways run PHP complex PHP result and find performance bottlenecks sorted by impact. So what it's doing now, it's running the Tideways run command with this complex script that's using the JSON Logic library API with an example from the customer I helped. They are using Shopware 6 and a pricing plugin that uses dynamic JSON Logic rules to do very complex pricing calculations. And as you can see, it's quite the big JSON document, and then also quite the big context information, different prices for different things. I iterate 10,000 times and then apply the rules. And now let's see how this will look like if we run Claude Code and optimize this for us. So I've set up a project using the JSON Logic library as a dependency through Composer, installed it, and also have a complex PHP file which is an example from the customer with one of their very complex if conditions for pricing, and based on various rules in their shopware in shop, and also some context data. And I iterate over that context data 10,000 times, change some of it to have different results with every iteration, and then apply the rules, the data and rules together to get a result. And now I'm going to run this through the profiler to find out how to optimize it. So let's use Claude Code now to find potential performance problems and make suggestions on optimizing them. First, we need to tell that it doesn't need to optimize complex PHP. Do not look to optimize complex PHP. We want to find problems in JSON Logic library itself. And then call Tideways, run PHP, complex PHP, and look at the output for performance insights. And once it's running the command now, we can see the output that Tideways returns. Control O, it shows us the call graph information, all the different calls, how often it was called, and the total time. And based on this, Claude can now run optimizations and find the problems. It will read the source code of the library and then make suggestions for improvements. So what we can see now, the improvements it suggests is operators array rebuild on every apply call is the biggest issue. Line 61 to 169. The entire 30 operators array is recreated on every invocation of apply. So, and if you remember the video I made before, this was the first optimization that we looked at. There's actually a pull request and a patch for optimizing apply by moving operators into a static array where possible. So let's see and ask Claude if this already fixes the issue and optimize from there. Look at the patch and does it fix issue number 1? And then we'll wait. Claude will think about this. It first tries using the GitHub CLI. It's not authenticated here, so it's now downloading this using curl. It's a little less efficient. Yes, PR18 directly fixes issue 1, but only partially. What it does, moves the operator array initialized once. The catch, var, missing are closures that capture data via use, so they cannot be made static. They still get recreated inline on every call. Those 3 are extracted and handled separately, while the 20 other operators are cached in statically. So it fixes the lion's share of issue 1, but the var missing some closures remain per call allocations. So apply the would you make a different approach to fixing the issue? In the time we can open this code block and look at it ourselves. So this is what Claude objected to. Apply is creating those closures over and over again. Yes, so it would do it different. The full fix, I'd apply move var into the else chain, eliminates or remaining call closure applied. Only apply PR18 and your suggestions. Don't do 3 and 4. We look at them later. So Claude is now working on this change. Moving out the code, build operators. This is similar to the patch, so it's not directly applying the patch, but it's doing some changes based on that. And we have this extracted out now. Let's take a look at what it's still doing here. Var else if branches, wire up the static operators, update. It's doing it here now. It's running tests, and then it's running the complex profiling data again, and it says it's 40% improvements. And it compare the differences in call numbers. So call user func array dropped from 217,000 calls to 84,000 calls, and is object dropped from this to that, and some more. So the remaining hotspots are now is logic and get operator array keys. Exactly the issue 3 and 4 you wanted to tackle next. And then I'm saying explain issue 3 in more detail. So array key allocates a new array containing all keys of logic, just so that we can read index 0 and throw the rest away. Since a logic node always has exactly one key, that's what isLogic enforces, this always allocates a single element array as an intermediate value that is immediately discarded. The PHP function array key first, available since PHP 7.3, does exactly what we want, return the first key directly, no intermediate array. The reason this matters is call value. Get operator is called from 3 places. Apply, get values is logic. Current profile has 1 million calls to get operator. So perform. So we see now array, the get operator logic uses array key first. Then let's see what Claude sees as an room. It's a modest gain. Array keys is gone, replaced by array key first. The overhead of calling get operator as method still dominates over the actual work inside. So the remaining big target is logic at 100. That's the next logical thing to look at. It calls get operator on every invocation. It's called far more than necessary given apply. So optimize isLogic. This was probably the wrong prompt. As you can see, it's thinking again instead of implying what it thought about before. It inlines the array key first now, because get operator is just a simple call now. And then we can see what improves in the performance if it does that. So this was already quite a bunch of optimizations that Claude did for us, but it didn't fix like the primary ones that we did when we did a manual operation. So there's still something left here. So let's look over to the profiling trace in Tideways itself to maybe see some inspiration of what was done before. So what we can see here is logic still takes up the most amount of time. What we can see here, we have isArray, count, and that is something that we fixed in the other video. We used compiler optimized function importing to get rid of these calls and having the engine do them. So let's go back and suggest this to Claude. So this is a step where Tideways can be better by finding this out and making suggestions to Claude already. So this is something that we are going to work on during the beta phase of our AI agent support. Use compiler optimized functions, import all with use function in JSON Logic PHP. So this is not really good English explanation, but the machine should find out what is necessary. So that took a few seconds. You see here everything that's imported, and it's now rerunning the Tideways run command again. and we will see what an improvement this helps with. So this is amazing. So this is from 650 milliseconds to 340 milliseconds, a 45% improvement from this change alone. So what I would have expected is that Claude finds this out itself based on the output of the core graph. But since it's not doing that, we are going to need to adjust the output to make a hint to Claude that this can be optimized. Let's run Tideways. Run PHP, complex PHP again, and look for optimizations in JSON Logic all over again. So we are doing a clean approach, not looking at what's left, but we want to see if there are more optimizations it can find and improve upon. Usually, if you have a few performance optimizations that take a lot of time, then you are really blinded by this. Unless you fix them and then look at the profiling data again, you can't see the performance problem before. So it's an iterative step of fixing and fixing more. So now we see here it finds out what stands out. Triple array key first per logic node in apply. So this happens because we inlined the array key first things, and now it can just reuse them. So inline all three into apply directly, one array key first, 0 method dispatches for the hot pass. Then getValues has 291 calls. Most of that is overhead. The method itself does very little. Get the key, get logic up, optionally wrap an array. All avoidable by inlining. So this is something I've shown in the video myself before. Inlining code in PHP, inlining functions makes a lot of sense in the hot pass, specifically if you have calls in the 100,000s and more. So let's just do all the optimizations. So it made the changes. You can see them suggested here. Then it reruns Tideways run PHP complex PHP, and you can see there's another reduction from 326 milliseconds to 250 milliseconds. From the original 968, we are now at a 78% total reduction. So this is quite an improvement, and it's quite amazing that it does this on a library that I don't know, and it can make all these changes based on the profiling data. Combining Claude Code with the Tideways CLI allows you to do performance optimizations of PHP code. As you've seen, we are still very early. It can detect problems and optimize quite a bit on its own already, but it would also be helpful if we add some additional hints and from the performance knowledge that we already have, and that is something that we are going to add through skills and additional things in the next versions of this support. If you want to test this, we would be very happy getting in contact with you. You can enable the AI agents beta support in your Tideways organization through the beta features section, and then use the Tideways run command to do the same that I did in this video. If you want to follow along for more PHP performance topics, please subscribe to this channel or subscribe to our newsletter. The link is in the description. Bye.